What was a loophole that you found and exploded the hell out of? I found out my wealthy mother-in-law was stealing from her housekeepers, so I decided to use her own rules against her. Patty, my mother-in-law, lived in this massive 5-bedroom house and hired immigrants who barely spoke English to clean it. She'd promised them $20 an hour, but would always find excuses not to pay their full wages. One day, I overheard her telling her friend how she'd gotten her newest housekeeper, Rosa, to work 12 hours for only $80 by claiming she'd broken an expensive vase. The thing is, I knew that vase. It was a $12 knockoff from HomeGoods that Patty passed off as an antique. I remembered how when I first married her son, Andy, she made me sign this ridiculous contract about family rules. One specific rule caught my attention. Any family member who catches another family member being dishonest can claim 50% of that person's monthly allowance. She made everyone sign it because she was convinced her other daughter-in-law was lying about designer bags. So, I set up a camera in Rose's cleaning supply closet. Within a week, I had footage of Patty taking cash from Rose's purse while she was cleaning upstairs. Next day, Patty found another broken vase and took $100 from Rose's pay. I did some digging and discovered Patty had done this to 6 other housekeepers in the past year. She'd stolen over $8,000 total. I gathered bank statements, recorded conversations, and statements from past housekeepers. At the next family dinner, Patty was bragging about her smart business practices with the help. I pulled out a folder and said, "Speaking of business practices, remember that family honesty contract?" She froze mid-bite. "What about it?" I laid out all the evidence. According to Section 3, if I catch you being dishonest, I get half your monthly allowance. You get $15,000 a month from Grandpa's trust fund. That's $7,500 you owe me. She turned red. That contract was about family matters, not business. Actually, I smiled, pulling out the contract. It specifically says any dishonest behavior that affects the family's reputation. Stealing from housekeepers definitely counts. Her husband, Harold, who'd always suspected she was stealing but could never prove it, grabbed the contract. "She's right, Patty. Pay up." Patty tried arguing, but I had one more card to play. Pay what you owe the housekeepers and my contract fee. Or I send this evidence. To the labor board, your choice. She wrote checks to all the housekeepers that night. Rosa got $3,000 in back pay. The others got similar amounts, and I got my $7,500, which I split with the housekeepers as bonus Christmas money. Patty tried to make everyone sign a new contract. The next day, voiding the old one. Too late. I'd already filed it with the family lawyer. Now, every month, I do a thorough check of how she treats her staff. If she shorts their pay, even $1, I get half her allowance. She's had to start paying people properly and even gives holiday bonuses now. Not because she's become a better person, but because she knows I'm watching. Her new housekeeper, Maria, just bought a car with her savings. Last week, Patty tried hiring undocumented workers again, thinking I wouldn't find out. I did. That's another $7,500 headed to her staff's Christmas bonus fund. I found out my wealthy mother-in-law, Patty, was stealing from her housekeepers, so I decided to use her own rules against her. Patty lived in a massive 5-bedroom house and hired workers who barely spoke English to clean it. She promised them $20 an hour, but always found excuses to shortchange them. One day, I overheard Patty boasting to a friend about how she got her newest housekeeper, Rosa, to work 12 hours for just $80 by accusing her of breaking an expensive vase. I knew that vase wasn't expensive. It was a $12 knockoff from HomeGoods that Patty passed off as an antique. That was the moment I realized the scale of her dishonesty. When I first married her son, Andy, Patty had me sign a ridiculous family contract. One clause stuck with me. Any family member who catches another lying or being dishonest can claim 50% of that person's monthly allowance. Patty made everyone sign it because she accused her other daughter-in-law of lying about designer bags. So, I decided to use that clause against her. I set up a hidden camera in Rosa's cleaning supplies closet. Within a week, I caught Patty on film taking cash from Rosa's purse while she was cleaning upstairs. The very next day, Patty claimed Rosa broken another vase and docked $100 from her pay. I dug deeper and discovered Patty had done this to 6 other housekeepers over the past year, stealing over $8,000 total. I gathered bank statements, taped conversations, and got statements from former housekeepers. At the next family dinner, Patty was bragging about her savvy business, efficiency with the help. I calmly pulled out a folder. Speaking of business practices, remember that family honesty contract? She froze mid-bite and asked, "What about it?" I laid out all the evidence. According to Section 3, if I catch you being dishonest, I get half your monthly allowance. Since Patty received $15,000 a month from Grandpa's trust, that meant she owed me $7,500. Patty snapped, "That contract's about family matters, not business." I smiled and pulled the contract closer. It explicitly states any dishonest behavior that harms the family's reputation counts. Stealing from employees definitely qualifies. Her husband, Harold, who had long suspected her thefts but lacked proof, grabbed the contract. "She's right, Patty. Time to pay up." Patty tried to argue, but I had my trump card. Either you pay the housekeeper's back and my contract fee, or I send all this to the labor board. Your choice. That night, she wrote checks to all the housekeepers. Rosa got $3,000 in back pay alone. The others received similar amounts. I collected my $7,500 and split it between the housekeepers as a Christmas bonus. The next day, Patty scrambled to void the old contract with a new one, but it was too late. I already filed the original legally with the family lawyer. Now I audit her treatment of staff monthly. If Patty skips a single dollar in pay, I'm legally entitled to half her allowance. Patty hasn't cheated since. She even hands out holiday bonuses now. Not because she's changed, but because she knows I'm watching. Her current housekeeper, Maria, just bought a car with her savings. Last week, Patty tried to hire undocumented workers, thinking I wouldn't notice. I did. That means another $7,500 for her workers' Christmas fund. I found a loophole in her greed and exploded it, turning her own game back on her. Because sometimes justice isn't about confrontation. It's about using the rules to, protect the vulnerable. Story 2 at dinner, my sister smirked. We made a PowerPoint. Why your trust fund should go to us. Slide 3. It said, "You were unexpected anyway." I clapped. Great pitch. Then Mom accidentally airdropped a meme from their secret chat without him. That night, I reset my passwords. By morning, things felt. My mom called, voice shaking. "What's happening?" I didn't answer. I just sent a link to my PowerPoint. How to lose $1 million trust in 14 slides and 1 meme. My name is Nathan. I'm 28 years old. And if you ask my family who I am, they'd probably say something like, "Oh, that's just Nate. He's around, not the golden child, not the troublemaker, just the placeholder." My older sister Caroline is the golden one. Always has been. Straight A's. She got balloons and cake. I got told to work harder. She crashed Dad's car at 17. Accidents happen. I saved up for my own beat-up Honda. Don't get cocky. I told myself for years that it didn't matter, that being invisible was easier than always being under the spotlight. I kept my head down, got through college on scholarships and part-time jobs, and built a quiet life. I pay my bills on time. I rent a small apartment. Nothing flashy. No one claps for that. But no one notices if you fail either. Or at least that's what I thought. But no matter how old I get, I still end up back at my parents' dining table a few times a year. Some part of me still hopes things will be different. That maybe this time someone will ask how I'm doing and actually listen. That's how I found myself at a family dinner last Saturday. Same long wooden table, same heavy plates. Mom only brings out when Caroline is home. She breezed in late with her fiancé Jason flashing her ring like she was presenting at a jewelry convention. Everyone stood up to hug her. Dad kissed her cheek. Mom wiped away fake tears. Me? I was already seated. No one even noticed. We ate in the usual order. Mom praising Caroline's new promotion at the law firm. Dad bragging about how Jason fits right in with the family. Jason chuckling like he'd won a prize. I tried to cut into my overcooked chicken, quietly pretending not to exist. Then Caroline cleared her throat. Loud dramatic. She glanced at Jason, who grinned, then stood up and grabbed the TV remote. We actually prepared something, she said, smirking at me. A presentation. Jason connected his laptop to the TV. A PowerPoint popped up. Slide 1. Why Nathan's trust fund should go to us. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. Slide 2 was a photo of them on vacation in Italy. We're responsible. We put the money to better use. Slide 3. A white background with black text. You were unexpected anyway. Laughter. Nervous from Mom. A proud grin from Dad. Jason clicked to the next slide like this with some business pitch. I didn't laugh. I set my fork down, leaned back in my chair, and started clapping slowly. Great. Pitch, I said. My voice sounded calm, even though my chest was burning. Caroline rolled her eyes. Don't be so dramatic, Nate. We're just being honest. You don't even use what you have. Before I could reply, a notification sound chimed. My mom's phone lit up, and she panicked for half a second before turning it over face down, but not fast enough. I saw the preview on the screen. An airdrop mistake. A meme from their family group. Chat. The caption read, "Without him." Jason chuckled under his breath. Caroline smirked. Dad avoided my eyes. I sat there silent, my palms flat on the table. That night, after everyone went to bed, I reset every password I had. My email, my bank, accounts, even the old iPad Mom still thought she had access to. By morning, the air in my apartment felt lighter. For the first time in years, I felt like I wasn't the one on the outside looking in. And that's when my phone rang, Mom's name on the screen. Her voice shook when I didn't answer. Nathan, what's happening? I didn't call back. I didn't explain. Instead, I sent her a link, a file I'd made overnight. How to lose $1 million trust in 14 slides and 1 meme. I guess I should back up, because that dinner wasn't just some random explosion. It was the breaking point after years of being treated like the family safety net. The extra part they never wanted, but kept around just in case. Like Caroline was the golden one from day one. When she was born, Mom said she completed the family. I once overheard her say to a neighbor, "We only planned for one, but then Nathan happened." She laughed like it was cute. The neighbor chuckled politely. I was 8 years old, standing right there. I remember holding my toy car tighter, wishing I could shrink into the floor. That tone never changed. If Caroline wanted ballet classes, they found the money. If I wanted soccer cleat, I was told to mow lawns until I could afford them myself. At birthdays, she got trips to amusement parks. I got maybe a shirt on sale. When she graduated high school, Dad leased her a car. When I did, he handed me his old tool set and said, "Learn to fix your own." I thought maybe adulthood would balance things out. It didn't. Caroline went to law school, tuition covered by family savings. I worked full-time through college, juggling shifts at a coffee shop and late-night delivery jobs just to keep the lights on. I remember once coming home exhausted, shoes soaked from rain, only to find an email from Dad. Caroline needs a little extra for books this semester. Can you wire her $200? Be a team player. I did it. Not because I had it to spare, but because I knew if I said no, I'd never hear the end of it. That became the pattern. Every little extra somehow landed on me. When Caroline moved into her downtown apartment, guess who they asked to help pay the deposit? When she wanted a new laptop. Dad called me saying, "You're better with money. Help your sister out. One day, she'll return the favor." She never did. I think the lowest moment came the year I finally saved up for a short vacation. Nothing extravagant, just a week at the beach with some friends. The night before I left, Mom called. Your sister's car broke down. The repair's $600. Don't you have that in your account? I hesitated. Yeah, but I've been planning this trip. Trips are luxuries, Nathan. Family comes first. I canceled the trip, sent the money. She didn't even thank me. She just texted, "Got it." Meanwhile, Caroline posted photos from her weekend getaway 2 days later, smiling with her friends, cocktails in hand. New rental car behind her. When I brought it up, she just laughed. Oh, that Jason covered most of it. Chill out, Nate. You act like money is life or death. I didn't reply, but it was for me. It always was. The thing about being used for years is you start to think maybe it's your role. Like maybe some families just have the golden child and the support beam. You convince yourself it's normal. That was me. I played along. I worked extra shifts. I covered emergencies. I smiled through dinners where Dad toasted Caroline's accomplishments and forgot to even mention I'd gotten promoted. But slowly, it started to burn. I remember one night when Dad came over unannounced. I had just gotten home from work, still in my uniform. The smell of grease stuck to my clothes. He didn't ask how I was. He just walked in, glanced around my small apartment, and said, "You should think about moving somewhere nicer. It's embarrassing when Caroline visits." I blinked. Embarrassing for who? For the family. You're almost 30. Live like it. I wanted to scream, but instead I nodded and said, "Sure, because that's what." I always did. The demands only grew. Caroline's engagement party, I was asked to cover the photographer. Mom framed it as, "You're good with cameras, Nate, right? Just write the check and we'll say it's from you. Be part of the celebration." That was $200 gone. Her bridal shower. I paid for the catering because you're single. You don't have responsibilities like she does. The wedding venue deposit. Dad called me at midnight, whispering like it was some national emergency. "Son, if you love your sister, you'll step up." I pulled from my savings. Each time, I told myself it was the last, but it never was. Then the trust fund came up. It wasn't. Something I thought about much. My grandfather, who passed when I was a teenager, had left money for me. A college fund technically, but since I worked through school, most of it stayed untouched. It rolled into a trust under my name. I didn't flaunt it. I barely mentioned it. I figured it was just there. Safety for the future. Apparently, my family didn't see it that way. One Sunday after dinner, Dad pulled me aside into the kitchen. His voice was calm. Too calm. "You know, son, Caroline and Jason are thinking about buying a house. Starter home. Good neighborhood. But you know how expensive things are right now." I stayed quiet. I knew what was coming. You put a hand on my shoulder. You've got that trust just sitting there. Money doesn't mean anything unless it's used for family. I shook my head slowly. That's mine. Grandpa left it for me. Dad's jaw tightened. He left it for the family. You're just the placeholder. Be reasonable. The word placeholder stuck in my head like a knife. That's when I realized this wasn't just about occasional handouts. They were planning, coordinating. They didn't just want a piece of me anymore. They wanted everything. By the time the PowerPoint showed up at dinner, I shouldn't have been surprised. They'd been leading up to it for years. The snide comments, the manipulative calls, the guilt trips disguised as family loyalty. But seeing it in black and white, on a screen with Caroline smirking, as if my existence was an inconvenience to her life plans, that flipped a switch in me I didn't know I had. And when Mom accidentally airdropped that meme, without him, I understood the truth. They didn't just see me as invisible, they saw me as expendable. That's when something inside me stopped breaking and started hardening, because I finally knew. If I didn't draw a line, they would bleed me dry until there was nothing left. Caroline's wedding was supposed to be the grand event of the year. At least that's how Mom and Dad described it for months. Every phone call, every text, every dinner turned into a countdown. By the time the day arrived, I already felt drained. I'd chipped, in more than I could admit. The photographer, the catering, even part of the dress. My savings looked like a war zone, but I told myself I'd just get through it quietly. Smile for the photos, shake hands, go home. The venue was a country club ballroom, dripping with chandeliers and flowers that probably cost more than my car. Caroline floated around like a queen, Jason glued to her side, Mom fanning herself like she'd married royalty. I tried to blend in. I grabbed a drink, sat at the edge of the room, and watched them laugh with guests. Nobody looked my way. Then, dinner started. Long white tables, clinking glasses, champagne flowing like water. Dad stood up to give a speech, smiling so wide I thought his face would crack. "My daughter," he said, lifting his glass toward Caroline, "is the pride of this family. She's worked so hard, and tonight we celebrate not just her marriage, but her future." Guest clapped. Caroline beamed. Jason kissed her cheek. Then Dad turned. His smile faded into something sharper. Of course, families are complicated. Some members. He paused, eyes locking on me. Need to learn what it means to support others. Instead of themselves. A ripple went through the tables. People shifted uncomfortably. I froze, glass halfway to my lips. Caroline stood, smoothing her dress. "Actually, Dad, I'll take it from here." She signaled to Jason. He pulled out a laptop. My stomach dropped. Not again. The projector lit up the wall. Slide 1. Why Nathan should do the right thing. Gasps. Nervous laughter. A few relatives whispered. Caroline smirked. "We thought we'd make it simple for everyone. Some of you might not know, but Nathan has a trust fund. A big one. And honestly, he doesn't need it. We do. We're starting a family, building a future. It makes sense." Slide 2. Their dream house photos. Slide 3. Nathan was unexpected. The room went dead quiet. Even the DJ stopped the background. Music. I stood slowly. My chair scraped loud against the floor. My chest was tight, but my voice came out steady. "Turn it off." Caroline laughed nervously. "Oh, come on, Nate. Don't be such a..." I said, "Turn it off." Jason crossed his arms. "Relax, man. We're just making our case." I looked around the room. Faces of relatives, family, friends, even co-workers of my parents staring, some shocked, some smirking, like this was free entertainment. And then I spoke louder than I'd ever allowed myself. "You've used me for years. Every bill, every so-called emergency, every guilt trip. I paid for this wedding. I paid for your parties. I canceled vacations. I sent money I didn't have. And still, it was never enough." Caroline rolled her eyes. "You're being dramatic." I took a step forward. "No, I'm being clear. This isn't about revenge. This is about closure. You don't get another dollar. Not from me. Not from Grandpa's trust. Nothing." The room buzzed. Someone coughed. My aunt muttered, "Good for him," under her breath. Mom stood, face pale, but voice sharp. "Nathan, sit down. Don't ruin your sister's night." I turned to her. She ruined mine every day for 28 years. Tonight, I'm done. Jason sneered. "You think you're the victim here? Grow up, man. Be a brother." I laughed, short, bitter. "A brother? You stood in my living room asking for money with a straight face. You made a PowerPoint about why my existence was seen as unplanned. That's not family, that's users." Gasps again. Caroline's face flushed red. "How dare you? How dare you?" I snapped. "I'm not your backup plan. I'm not your bank. I'm not your placeholder. I'm Nathan, and I'm done being erased." The silence was crushing. You could hear silverware clink nervously against plates. I pulled my phone from my pocket, scrolled, and tapped a file. The projector flickered. My slides appeared. How to lose $1 million trust in 14 slides and 1 meme. Laughter broke out. Sharp, awkward, but real. I clicked through quickly. Screenshots of texts demanding money, bank transfers, Mom's guilt trip messages, even the airdropped meme without him. Faces in the crowd twisted. Some guests whispered. Others avoided eye contact. Mom gasped. Dad's jaw clenched. Caroline's mouth hung open. Jason muttered, "What?" I closed the laptop. Show's over. For the first time in my life, I walked away from that table without looking back, and not one person stopped me. The morning, after the wedding, my phone lit up like a slot machine. Missed calls, 17 voicemails, 44 texts. By noon, it doubled. The family group chat, usually silent unless Caroline posted selfies, was suddenly alive. My mom, Nathan, you went too far. Call us now. My dad, we need to talk like adults. You embarrassed us. Caroline, you embarrassed me on my day. You're disgusting. Jason sent me a string of question marks followed by, lawyers will eat you alive. Bro, don't play games. I muted the chat. By evening, voicemails were coming in from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. My Aunt Linda Nate. Honey, I don't know what happened, but you shouldn't air dirty laundry in public. Apologize and fix this. My Uncle Rick, your mom is devastated. She's crying nonstop. You broke her heart. Is that what you wanted? I didn't respond. On day 2, the call switched tone. Mom's voice shook in one voicemail. You don't understand, Nathan. People are talking. Everyone saw what you did. Do you want to destroy this family? Dad's message was colder. That trust isn't really yours. It belongs to this family. We'll get it one way or another. That night, someone buzzed my apartment intercom nonstop. When I checked the camera, Dad was outside, arms crossed, Mom behind him clutching her purse like it was a funeral. Nathan, open the door. Dad's voice boomed. I didn't move. He shouted again. You think you can shut us out? We gave you everything. I actually laughed. Everything. I thought of every shift I worked, every bill I paid, every trip I canceled so Caroline could have her way. Mom's voice cracked. Please, Nate, don't do this to us, to her. I turned off the intercom. Day 3. Caroline started posting online. Instagram stories of her crying in her wedding dress with captions like, some people can't stand to see you happy. Jason added vague quotes about toxic family members and jealousy. Friends flooded the comments with sympathy. Meanwhile, my inbox, filled with links from cousins and coworkers forwarding me the posts. Some supportive, some judgmental. I stayed silent. That silence drove them insane. Day 4, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I picked up. It was Caroline. Her voice was cold steel. You think you won last night? You didn't. You embarrassed yourself. Everyone thinks you're unstable. Good, I said. Then they'll leave me alone. You're hopeless, she spat. Grandpa's trust should have gone to me. Everyone knows it. I almost smiled. If that's true, why are you begging me on the phone? She went silent for a beat, then hissed. You'll see the consequences. Click. By day 5, the mask was gone. My dad left a voicemail that sounded like a threat. If you don't hand over control of that trust, we'll drag you to court. Don't think we won't. 10 minutes later, my mom sent a softer one. Nathan, baby, you don't understand. We're just trying to protect Caroline. She deserves this. She's worked so hard. Don't ruin her future out of spite. Spite? That's what they called it. I stared at the phone in my hand. My apartment was quiet, peaceful. The contrast was almost funny. That night, I blocked every number I could think of. I deleted the family chat. I even told my building manager not to buzz anyone up without my permission. For the first time in years, I felt free. But freedom isn't quiet. Freedom leaves echoes because by day 7, their tone shifted again. Desperate. A text from Mom slipped through on a new number. We miss you. Please, let's talk. Don't shut us out forever. A voicemail from Dad. Caroline won't stop crying. Jason's. Furious. You've torn this family apart. Do you want to be responsible for that? And then the most surreal moment of all. A single meme. A screenshot from their secret chat accidentally sent to me again. It was the same picture from before. only. This time, the caption read, "Without him, we can't win." That's when it hit me. They didn't love me. They didn't hate me. They just needed me. Needed my money, my silence, my compliance. And now they had none of it. So I poured a drink, leaned back in my chair, and let the phone keep buzzing on the counter because I knew something they didn't. For the first time in my life, I was holding all the cards, and I wasn't giving them up. Weeks passed. The calls slowed, then stopped. The texts trickled into silence. For the first time in my life, my phone wasn't a leash tied to their demands. I thought maybe that was it, that they give up. But my family never lets go without one. Last performance. It came on a Sunday. I was at my apartment cooking for myself when there was a knock on my door. Not the loud pounding of Dad, a softer rhythm. Hesitant. When I checked the peephole, it was Mom alone. I opened the door halfway. She looked smaller than I remembered. Her voice was careful. "Nathan, can we talk?" I crossed my arms. "You have 2 minutes." She stepped inside like she owned the place. I scanning my living room. We've all made mistakes. Things were said in anger, but family forgives. I laughed once. Family doesn't make PowerPoints about erasing each other. Her face tightened. Caroline was emotional. You embarrassed her in front of everyone. "But she's your sister. She loves you." I shook my head slowly. "She loves my money." Mom's voice cracked. "You don't understand the pressure she's under. She's building a life, Nathan. She deserves help." That word again. Deserves. I leaned closer. "And what do I deserve, Mom?" A childhood where I was a mistake. Birthdays with no cake. Vacations canceled. So she could smile for Instagram. A lifetime of being erased so she could shine. She said nothing. I kept going. "You treated me like an ATM with legs. But I'm done. That trust stays with me. My life stays with me. And you? You stay out." Her eyes watered. "So that's it. You're cutting us off." I took a deep breath. Calm, steady, final. This isn't about revenge. This is about closure. I am not your backup plan. I am not your placeholder. I am not your bank. I'm Nathan, and I will never let you take from me again. For a moment, she just stared. Then she whispered, "Caroline will never forgive you." I opened the door wide. Good, that means I'll finally have peace. She left without another word. That night, I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and typed a short email to the family group. Chat, one final message. Subject, closure. Body, I'm done. Don't call. Don't text. Don't knock on my door. You wanted my silence for years. Now you have it. I won't be erased anymore, but you're erased from me. Goodbye. I hit send, blocked every contact, deleted the thread. The screen went dark. My apartment was quiet, peaceful. For the first time in 28 years, I felt free. And as I lay down that night, I promised myself one last thing. I will never again trade my peace for their chaos.